Hi folks, welcome back to the channel once again. Thank you very much for joining me. You are always most welcome. Well, of course, at the moment I'm recording this at the end of August 2022, and we seem to have gone Austin K2 ambulance crazy in the modelling world. And Airfix have brought out their Austin K2 ambulance, and we also have the one I'm going to review here from Gecko Models in 1/35. Now, those of you that don't know, maybe you're too young or you've been living under a rock, but the K2 ambulance has got two things it's particularly famous for. One is that it is a vehicle that was driven and maintained by Her Majesty the Queen when she was then Princess Elizabeth, late in the war, and I think just after as well. And there's lots of photographs of her changing wheels and working on them and maintaining them and driving them, all this kind of thing. So she was wanting to do her patriotic duty for her country, which she duly did, and looking very smart in her uniform. And of course this became, these images are quite iconic really. So there's a nice tie-in with the sort of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee in 2022, so that's a nice thing to have. And then the second thing, of course, this was the star of the film Ice Cold in Alex, which was about the British Army, an ambulance crew in World War II trying to get across the Libyan desert, and they actually take on it's basically starring Sylvia Sim, who looked absolutely gorgeous, very young at the time. John Mills, great actor of course, another great actor, Harry Andrews, and Anthony Quayle, who for me is kind of the star of the film really, between him and John Mills, because they are the two key characters. It's well worth watching if you've never seen it. When I first saw it as a child, I thought it was a bit boring, a bit slow. But there's kind of a, that's probably my perception as a child. It's not really. It's got that sort of slow grinding, pressure is etching up and the danger is etching up, and cranking up the sort of the pressure valve element of the situation these four people are in. I mean, it's almost like a play, a stage play really. You could almost make this a stage play if you had the right props, because it takes place in a background that doesn't change that much, you know. And it's a very beautifully shot, brilliantly acted dramatic film, and it's well worth your time if you get the chance to watch it. Anyway, the ambulance is the starring role, because they have to get this ambulance across the desert, and they encounter many challenges. Not least being the sheer heat in North Africa in the summer of 41, I think it was. So it's a very famous subject. You might be wondering about, I haven't got the Airfix one out, and I didn't get the Airfix straight away. I didn't rush into it. Sometimes with Airfix I think they do a lot of great stuff, and they're getting better all the time. They're creating some of the best instructions I think that you can find these days, with great detail, great clarity, something others should perhaps take on board. But I'm not always convinced about some of the plastic. The quality of the plastic, although I am reliably informed from what I've seen recently, both with the KATY I think and the Buccaneer, they seem to go to a harder, better quality plastic. So that's great, thanks a lot Airfix, we needed that. Because that soft blue plastic that was like blue tack was just awful. But I think one of the areas they fall down in, for me, is in the research, and I'm afraid it may have happened on this product as well. I think they have a habit, and I don't want to come across as critical, and Airfix have got some products I've already got on order, so I'm not dissing Airfix in any way, but I just wish they would take a bit more time on their research right at the beginning of the project. I think they have a habit, if I'm honest, of rocking up at a museum with a LiDAR scanner, thinking that, you know, checking, oh yes, this was from the war, this one, scan it, and it's job done. And I may be being unfair, perhaps I am, but they have had a few kits released now where they've got major errors and they haven't checked. All you have to do, and I'll come to what the errors are on this particular kit they've produced, but all you have to do is do a bit more background research. Go and look at some wartime photos. You know, one or two books perhaps need studying. It's as though they don't have time to do that, and they just want to do it all in a day and scan it and have done. And it's got them into trouble several times recently, and I think they've done it again. Anyway, I'm not here to knock Airfix, because I say they've got some wonderful products coming out. The new Buccaneer they've produced, I think, is a real cracker. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But I got a vibe about that K2 ambulance from Airfix that all was not quite right about it, and I couldn't tell you what it was. It's just a vibe. And I think that, as we'll come to in a moment, I think I've probably done the right thing. So I've gone for the Gecko. Now this is interesting because it's got the most bizarre title, hasn't it? Let me just zoom you in. You might think to yourself, well, why is it called... Put the lights on as well so you get a bit more light. You're probably thinking, well, why is it called that then? It says, well-known KATY, limited edition special box in 1/35 scale. Why doesn't it say Austin K2 ambulance, military ambulance? Well, I don't know all the details, but as I understand it, there's some sort of argument going on about franchise rights and what's the word I'm looking for? The sort of registration and the rights to use the Austin name and all this kind of thing. Now, I know that we have had issues like this already with the Chinese manufacturers. I'm thinking of the X-wing, not wings, Lancaster bomber, the big 132 scale kit. We know there's issues there in terms of licensing and product rights and all that kind of thing. And we also have, of course, the biggest area we have this in is with Formula One cars. I'm a huge fan of Formula One. I'd love to see Formula One car kits. And there are no recent Formula One car kits, not for the last 3-4 years. And this is all about licensing. And basically because Formula One, the organisation, seem to be, and again, I'm not trying to criticise people, just telling it as I understand it, but there seems to be a greed, I think that's probably not too strong a word, wanting to have a chunk of the action, and of course all the sponsors want a chunk if their company name appears on Decals. But I can't understand this, because the net result is, just look at this. This is the way the world could go if we're not careful. If everybody wants to take a disproportionate chunk of something that they don't really warrant, that's what's going to happen. Exactly what you got with Formula One cars and models. I think it's time that I had a rant about this, actually. I know I'm going off subject slightly, but this is important because it applies here too. This is the way the world will go. You'll end up with manufacturers of kits just refusing to make Formula One car kits because they are not prepared to pay the ridiculous licensing fees that are demanded by people like Ferrari and Formula1.com. I don't understand why you people can't get together and thrash out some modest, sensible agreement that is amicable for all. A compromise, in other words. And there's no sign that's ever going to happen. It's really disappointing. And in the meantime, it doesn't help Formula One to not be selling millions and millions of Formula One car kits. We could have had, especially this year with the new regulations, we could have new kits coming out. Red Bull, the car looks fantastic. Ferrari's car looks mind-blowing. You've got the Mercedes, which is very different and also mind-blowing. All these cars that are so, they grab you in terms of the imaginative designs they've gone for, despite having a very limited technical regulation. They all look quite different, and yet we can't have models of them. Now, come on, isn't it ridiculous? It's the same sort of thing I rant about all the time, a lack of vision. And in this case, it's outright greed, I think, coming into it as well. But I'm not going to go on too long about that, because I know you've come here to see this. But that's the future of a lot of things. You got it with some aircraft, and there's been issues where certain manufacturers in, let's say, beyond the east of Europe, shall we say, I won't name names at the moment, but companies there have just decided to build stuff that they haven't got licenses for. I think there should be some international law that governs how much can be charged for licensing. I think that would be sensible, really, because at the end of the day, having no models of something that would give a small commission to all these companies, that small commission multiplied by the millions of models around the world, that would add up to quite a lot of money, and you're just foolish by not doing it. Rant over. Hope you all agree with me, but let's get into this. So, this is the Gecko model version of the K2 ambulance, even though it doesn't say this. This is not a toy, blah 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 blah, doesn't say much really. There is a figure included. They've actually included, and this is the real reason that motivated me to go for this one. It includes the Princess Elizabeth as she was then, before she became the Queen of England. It includes her in her uniform, which I think is really good, and that's a nice added benefit, a bit of a bonus on this particular kit. So let's take a look at what we got here. Now I've left it sort of half open here because it's one of those lids that's a swine to get off, and I know on camera it'll never come off. So I've left it a little bit elevated, so I hope you forgive me. Let me zoom you in and let you have a proper look at this now. So here we have the Princess Elizabeth that I alluded to. Not looking very regal, but looking very, very formal and extremely smart in her her army, women's army uniform. Talking about the decals, this kit comes with some photo etch parts as well, and I am reliably informed it even has, as an addition, it has a short length of hose included as well, which is really cool. None of those things there. Okay, your decals, yeah, but you don't get a figure, you don't get a photo etch, and you don't get a hose in the Airfix kit, so there's a differentiator straight away. Over on this side we've got the schemes, and you've got basically a choice of two, I think. We'll come to that later, but you'll see that we've got the actual KATY Ice Cold in Alex scheme, which again you don't get in the Airfix kit for reasons I can't quite understand, unless it's a licensing issue again. It doesn't seem to stop Gecko from doing it, and you get the standard sort of brown or green military issue army colours. So I think without further ado we should have a look in this box. So its box kit number is 35GM0070. Let's have a look at what we've got, and I'm going to give you a good long look at this so that those of you that have got the Airfix can understand at least what the differences are. And you know, you may want to go out and you may want to go out and do a Princess Elizabeth version and an Ice Cold Alex version, or mix and match. Fine, it's free country, it's free world, maybe. So we've got this sort of ICM style box with a lift up lid and then a box within a box. We've got decals and photo etch, and we've got quite a few bags. Some of these are resealable, some of them are not. So I'll get through that in a second. There's a resealable one. There's a lot of parts though. I think that's another key differential. So if you don't like a lot of parts, you want a quick build, this is probably not the one for you, in truth. Okay. I do find the titling of it very curious though, this well-known KATY. No mention of Austin at all, which is very, very curious, isn't it? What's that? A bit of carbon. Nothing. So, we're going to look at this in detail. Here we go. So, there's a nice bit of a write-up here, so I'll read it to you, because otherwise I'm presuming it'll be too difficult. It says, the British Army had two classes of ambulance, and by the way, can you excuse me 1 second, because I think I need to use my bigger glasses for this. They've gone for some super tiny writing. I need my modelling glasses on. Whoops, there we go. There were two classes of ambulance. These were heavy ambulances, which could carry 4 stretcher cases, or 10 cases, 10 sitting cases, and the light ambulance, which carried just 2 stretcher cases, or an equivalent number of sitting cases. During the 30s, the Royal Army Medical Corps developed a standard heavy ambulance body which could be fitted to a variety of chassis cabs and chassis cowls. The body was mainly of a wooden construction with a wooden hardboard interior panelling and canvas exterior. Designated the number 2 Mark 1L, it was manufactured by Man Edgerton bodybuilding firm, coach builders as we would say. The body has seen on the Bedford WT chassis, the Bedford NL chassis and the commercial CS11 30F chassis, best known when fitted to the commercial K2 chassis and affectionately known as the KATY by its designation, has a 6-cylinder 3.5 litre engine. The ambulance weighed just over 3 tonnes and has a top speed of 50 miles per hour, which is not bad. It had a crew of 2 or 3 in addition to the injured personnel carried. It's 18 feet long, 7.5 feet wide and 9'2" high, so it's very high. 13,000 of these were built between 1939 and 1945. It's a lot, isn't it? Remained in service until the 1960s because they used them in Korea, didn't they? There are a few changes during production, and these mainly related to lighting and the type of ventilators fitted to the roof. Rotary for the early production and boxes on the later production. Okay. Towards the end of the production, the locker room door for the spare wheel behind the driver was changed from deep fabricated cover to a more shallow pressed steel arrangement. This required the wheel to be moved inboard and a semicircular cutout added to the door between the cab and the body, as you see here. Contrary to its popular belief, the ambulance was not used by the RAF in World War II, although strangely, under reverse Lend-Lease arrangement, it could be seen on USAF airfields in England. Okay. It only entered service with the RAF after the Second World War. Main users were the British Commonwealth Armies, who used it in all theatres. A significant number were also used by civilian volunteer aid services like the British Red Cross Society and the St John's Ambulance Brigade, both in the UK and overseas. It's a very famous ambulance. Throughout the war, a number of these heavy ambulances were used as training vehicles, both in the Army and auxiliary territorial services. The art of driving and maintaining these vehicles had to be learned. The markings for a vehicle used by the ATS, Auxiliary Territorial Service, Driving and Maintenance School at Camberley, Surrey in early 1945 are included. For many, the star of the 1958 film Ice Cold in Alex is the K2, about the travails of a party trying to cross the desert during the retreat from Tobruk, and is perhaps this ambulance. In reality, a number were used in the making of the film, including at least one that was converted to four-wheel drive using a CMP or K9 chassis. There you go, I like that. Now the Chinese normally can't be bothered with any of this, so 10 out of 10 to Gecko model for doing that. That is a very good write-up and nicely detailed, not too long and not too short, just what we want. Beautiful, thank you very much. So, let's zoom you in and let you have a look at these instructions, because it's quite a book. You can tell it's got a lot of parts because it's quite involved. Right, so at the beginning we've just got some very basic stuff showing you the tools you're going to need. Then we've got the sprue map showing you the various sprues. There is indeed a hose, and we've also got wheel outers, and we've got photo etc. Oh, okay. Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, Princess Elizabeth as she was then, has just popped out, and we'll have a look at that first. So this is in a separate bag, so we will treat her separately, and it gives you all the colours you need to replicate her army uniform and the various extras that would have been carried by her and her colleagues. So there's all sorts. There's a pistol holster. You've got little, I think it's a little pouches for things like compasses, trenching tool, rucksack. You've got your typical Tommy's hat, binoculars, all the things you need to go out into the desert for Ice Cold in Alex. Okay, many thanks to Simon King, Andrew Gad and Curtis Sang, who helped to make this production. So there you go, so that's all you need to do to make up your Princess Elizabeth and all the little items that come with it. Put that to one side over there. That's going to be safe. That's a good start. It's a good start. Then, wow. So this is where we get some very good quality instructions in terms of the photographic images. Proper 3D almost photographs, aren't they? And really, really nice. So you start off building up your chassis with your leaf springs, front and the rear. You've got a lot of small components here, so as I say, if you don't like a lot of high part count, it might not be the one for you. Now this is where it gets interesting, I think, because they've gone for this outer tyre and inner tyre and wheel arrangement. And the beauty of that is they've been able to recreate, as we'll see on the plastic, they've recreated the actual lettering on the tyres, which I'm sorry to tell you, Airfix have not done. What's more, if you look carefully at this wheel tread pattern, Airfix have not got the tread pattern right either, because they've gone looking and scanning a post-war version that's got later rubber on it. Now that, I'm pretty sure, is exactly the same as the one in Ice Cold and Alex, the tread pattern. Well, some question about the wheel hubs as well, because I saw some photographs, some wartime photographs that had the front wheel hubs were not the same as the Airfix one, but I'm not sure about that, so I don't want to be too damning towards it, you know. Anyway, then you've got your final drive differential here going in for your axle, and then we've got nice big clear instructions, aren't they? You know, they're giving it to you with great clarity here. And then you're building up your gearbox, and you've got your engine, lots and lots of very detailed parts. You've even got the fan and the fan belts, exhaust manifold, it's all there. It's a typical Austin 6-cylinder engine. Yeah, you've got oil filters and everything, and it's really detailed actually. That's really impressive. Now that again is not in the Airfix kit, there's no engine. So, there you go. Anyway, prop shaft here, prop shaft going in with all the connectors and universal joints, direct drive. to the rear, and then you've got your front prop shaft and your engine going in there. Exhaust system, which looks really cool. And this is really detailed. It's a proper full-on model. It's like a replica really, rather than just a model. Look at this, you've even got the like an anti-roll bar, isn't it? The part of the chassis strengthening bar. You've got the back plates for the wheels, all going on there. There's your anti-roll bar. That's what. Sorry, yeah, that's the anti-roll bar here. Part of the suspension. And then we've got the sort of toe links and the various suspension components attaching the wheel hubs. Then you're putting your wheels on here. And you've got a choice. You can actually position them wheels to the left, wheels to the right. Whether you can actually steer it, I don't think you can. I think it's sort of giving you the choice there, left or right. Then we've got fuel tanks either side going on the chassis. And then we are building up what looks like I think it's at the rear. It's like a standing plate, so like a foot plate to stand on at the back, supported by the chassis to give it strength. Then we've got the radiator. Now look at this. This is where the photo etch is coming in. We've got a photo etch radiator. That's cool. That's great. And again, it's an area where the Airfix, I'm afraid, does let us down rather badly because it's just plastic and it's not got any engine detail or opening bits at all. And yet it has a radiator behind on the Airfix one, which nobody can quite understand why they did that when you can't actually access it. So I'm not sure what that was all about. And here's the radiator here on the Gecko. And there's a radiator intake cover. Shows you how the radiator sits behind it. Protective screen. I guess it's slightly bulletproof, probably not very, but you know. Then it shows it going in on the chassis. It's in colourless as well, notice, which is nice. The instructions are really quite good. There's no writing at all, which would have been helpful. You know, this is the radiator, this is the gearbox, etc. But it is visually very well done. Mud guards going in there. Then you're building up the sort of stowage box, which the seat is mounted on top of. Crumbs, don't put any ammo in there, whatever you do. Then you've got the floor in the actual the front of the cab, and you're building up the sort of the front of the floor and the instrumentation, complete with the pedals. It's got everything. It's got the pedals in PE as well. Look what a beautiful kit. They've done this. I think they've done it nicely. It looks really cool. Certainly from the instructions. Then you're building up your front bulkhead, the front of it, just going into the engine bay here. Instruments, which are Decals, I think, going in there. Then you put your bulkhead and your cab floor together, like so. And you've got the sort of supports that join the bulkhead to the front where the radiator attaches, and over the engine, and the support bars, brace bars that are going in there. Again, they're highlighted in pale blue. Very nicely done, this. Visually, the photography and the reproduction here is excellent, I've got to say. I'm not sure it's coming out fully on the camera, but it's very good. Then we've got, now this is exactly what I talked about when I saw the Airfix one, in fairness, why they couldn't have had an opening bonnet and just a bit of engine on show, even if it was only on one side. You know, ice cold and Alex, it's constantly overheating and opening the bonnet all the time, you know. So yeah, that's really nicely done. And again, there's a panel there, cooling panel on the side, so you can have the bonnet open if you wish, because it interlocks along the hinge line. And then we've got the lights going on here, and of course they have these sort of blackout type lights. And then we've got I think it's like a winch bar at the front for towing, etc. And you've got some petrol cans here being built up. And then you're building up the start of the floor of the main truck cabin at the back, with a big RSJ girder going across there. And then we've got the actual stretchers themselves for the patients who are injured, any injured soldiers. These are the reinforced cages for the petrol cans, going in like so. Reinforced cages for ammo boxes and other materials, so they don't get rattled around too much, dented or damaged. It looks like that's like a seat that's got like a stowage box. There's lots of stowage boxes everywhere. And then you're bringing in this floor and mounting it on the chassis there. And then you're adding the photo etch for these various cages. And you've got support brackets here for the mud guards. Again, photo etch. They've really pushed the boat out of this kit, they really have. It's very nice. And then we've got the other end of the mud guard, and again we've got more supports going in, brackets etc. from photo etch, and again you've got the photo etch support for the mud guard there. Okay, shows the angles they should be at here. You've got the rear sort of rear board that has the lights etc. mounted onto it at the back. I don't know if it has armour plate built into that. I suspect it might have, just a bit thin. And then we've got the rear door being built up here, closed position or open position. And then you've got various blinds on the inside. You've got blinds to keep the sun out. You're certainly going to need that in Libya, that's for sure. That was used liberally in the film, I think, wasn't it? Shutting the blinds. And then the cab is going to be brought down. Whoops. The cab's going to be brought down onto the main chassis here. And it shows the positions of how things align in relation to each other. And the colours. And then it's talking about building a spare wheel here that goes just behind the driver. And as I said before, you can actually see the writing on the tyres. Dunlop, Trax, GP, made in England. Brilliant. None of that is on your Airfix wheels and tyres, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. But it is a fact. So you didn't get that detail. And then you've got these sort of mounting brackets, which is going to be where the stretchers and the reinforced brackets, which are made of PE, they've got to go in. Jeez. Up to 43 stages of this kit already. So this is your where the sort of cushions go in, and then it looks like these stretchers. It looks like they've got, and the cushions. It looks like they've got some real contour to them. And this, I'm afraid, was one of the criticisms with the Airfix kit. There's no contour. The plastic was just flat. It didn't look like a cushion. It didn't really look like a stretcher because it wasn't contoured. I'm sure they could have done a bit more, but anyway, not here to criticise that one. Looking at this one. So then you've got bits of the roof. It's got a ramp on the inside. It's got handrails and grab rails and lights. There's all sorts of bits and bobs. Various attachments and little cubby storage boxes are going in there as well. And here's the ventilation, the little square box ventilation system that they mentioned at the beginning. Then you're going to mount in the rails for putting in the other side of the cushion and the stretcher, opposite side. And then we've got some reinforced, like a back rest here in black for people to lean against, just to cushion them if they get thrown about in the ambulance. Then we've got the actual second layer of stretcher going in, same again on the other side, complete with the safety rails and the raising rails that stop you from falling out and rolling out of the stretcher. And then other side, as I say, the second layer, because there's two layers of stretchers on both sides, so it's kind of repeat what we've seen already, but you've got a pillow there as well, cushions and pillows, just for the patient to put their heads on. And then you pull it all together basically. You're going to bring this in, all the sides are coming in, the roof's coming in. You've got a couple, it's got a couple of Lee Enfield rifles here. That's nice. That is very cool. So they're not going to go unarmed. And then it shows you how everything aligns and how it should be positioned for the second layer and how it fixes to the side wall of the actual ambulance. And then option 1 or option 2. Option 2 is where you don't have them raised up. On the real ambulance, I think you basically you raise up. They go on a ratchet system. You raise up and down the actual stretchers. Very, very nice. I mean, this is detailed, isn't it? It's all there. And then you've got the sunshade, a little bit of sunshade going over the top. A little veranda, and then you've got some fixing devices for things like the spare wheel, some tarpaulins and sunshades that are attached to the side, on the outside. And then we've got the windscreen being built, which is a very flat, simple affair with simple wipers. I don't know if are they electric or are they manual on these? I presume electric. There's the mechanism, yeah, there it is. And then you've got the sunshade that goes over the top for the driver and the co-driver. Putting those in, plus the top of your doors going in there, and of course the overall front roof stroke sunshade. Shows how the door should be positioned, where to put your little tarpaulin on the side. Mirrors going on here. How it should look from the front, the angle of the mirrors, here and here. And then finally the back doors, you're building up the back doors. And at the top of the roof, option obviously of closed position or open position. And then last but not least, there's a couple of stretchers that are just roll-up ones that go on the side, I think. Can be fitted on the side on a hanger, I think. And there you have it. Wow! So that's 62 stages. So you've got the this is the Queen's vehicle here, Princess Elizabeth as she was then. The Territorial Service #1 Training Centre at Camberley with the brown. Or you can't escape it, can you? KATY from Ice Cold in Alex in the desert scheme. And isn't that beautiful? Complete with the markings on the side, the same numbers. Absolutely amazing. Well, I've got to say, that's quite a long read through of the instructions. And it was fairly brief, I thought. Whew, that's a big one, isn't it? I'm impressed though. I am deeply impressed. That is a nicely conceived instruction book. Very well done. Now, let's get into the plastic. So, first of all, some of these have got resealable bags, so you can just open them and look anyway. What have we got? We have got decals. We've got photo etch. Look at the photo etch first, I think. So this is all the support brackets and things we saw on those stretchers, etc. Supports for the mud guards, so on and so forth. And as you can see, there's a lot of it. It's very, very beautifully done. It's very thin as well. It's not like Tamiya. It's a bit thinner than that, I'd say. More like Edouard, really. And you've got a lot of parts there. Little grills, etc. That's the radiator. Two sides of the radiator and the middle bit here. See it? Wow. Gosh, that is very nice. It's all numbered on this side. Yeah, that's really nice photo etch actually. Yeah, that's really cool. Beautiful. Impressed with that for starters, that's a good start. Then we've got our little bit of hose. I didn't actually spot where that attached. I wasn't really paying attention when I was reading through the instructions. Perhaps you did. A bit of hose. Then we've got the decals. Vital decals. British Red Cross. And you've got the markings for KATY, I think it's here, isn't it? These ones, I think. Pretty sure that's the ones. Unless it actually had KATY written on the ambulance in the film, it doesn't seem to have any KATY words here. Oh yes it does, it's just tiny, I can't, it's because I wasn't reading it enough. It's there, can you see it? Just here, under the number. KATY it says, right there. KATY, and it's on both sides as well, so you can indeed totally accurately replicate the Ice Cold and Alex ambulance effortlessly. Wow, well those are nice. I've not seen Gecko before, don't think I have. Those are actually very nice decals, so we'll pop them back in there. So far so good, that's a great start. Better if I don't have green screen though, because you don't like that, I know. So, come back a bit. Ooh, I tell you what, it's gone very warm again here in the UK. It's not a hot day today, but it's a bit humid and a bit, you know, cloudy and sticky. Right, next, let's have a look. We have got another resealable bag. in which we have our tyres. Now, I talked about these, there's several of them, but we talked about these, didn't we? About the treads, and the Airfix didn't get theirs right. They went for they copied a vehicle that was a post-war one. Now this has got the correct treads on them. And they have this sort of chevron design that sort of crosses over. See that? Yep. And they go around the rims, which are done in quite an interesting way. Something we'll come to in a few minutes, but they basically go like that over the top. So this is just the tyre tread. The tyre sidewall is attached to the wheels. We'll come to that later. But I have to say, there's no seam line on this. Try to focus again. There's no seam line at all. That's beautifully done. That's flawless. Quite an interesting concept as well. So, those are very, very nice. There's 5 of those, of course. Then we have, again in a resealable, we've got, they've gone for resealable on some and not on others, which is a bit tricky, but anyway. Clear parts, here we go. So it's your windscreen. Look at how fine that is there. Oof, careful with this. Yes, it's not bad at all. I don't think it's the most distortion-free plastic. I don't know if you can see the distortion, a little bit of distortion there. Yeah, it's a little bit distorted, isn't it? It's not crystal clear, but then again, these ambulances weren't the finest quality, vehicles ever. They were, built to a price and churned out. But that's a little bit distorted. That's not the best part I've seen so far. And you've got the doors here. But okay, it's okay. It's not terrible. Then we have another resealable bag. It says. Ah, my goodness. Okay, sorry, I didn't realise this. I did not treat this with due reverence. This is Princess Elizabeth herself. Sorry, Mum. Your Majesty. Let's have a closer look. Now this is one of the key parts of this kit that makes it a bit special for me. One of the reasons I decided to buy it. Let us take a closer look at these parts now. I want to show them to you properly. So there's Princess Elizabeth's tunic, uniform, legs, the sort of skirt, bottom of the uniform, it's like a blouson style. Here's the sleeve and arms. Seem quite nicely detailed. There's a little hint of flash here and there, but nothing too bad. And then we've got Her Majesty's face. Can we get that? Can we get that nice and clear? Yes, there we go. And her hat. Yeah. I can tell my camera's locked onto the face. It knows it's a face. That's very interesting. I haven't seen that before with a figure. So there's Her Majesty's face with her hair and her cap. And then obviously you've got the shoes, sort of regulation tights and regulation shoes, I guess, aren't they? Very nicely done now. I think that's really cool. Then we have a second sprue which has got all the things that she might carry about her person, or certainly in the van. So spare helmets, tin helmets in case of an air raid. They are pretty nice. Yeah, there's a hint of flash here and there. I'm trying to decide why these two are different here. These two have got like a band on the back. I think they have like an elastic band. It's to show the band is up behind, whereas these have not got an elastic band on. And then you've got various little pouches that carry things like first aid equipment. Here's the binoculars. Now they are a little bit flashy, I've got to say. Can you see that? Yeah. Flash has got the better of binoculars, I think. Turn it round. See that? There we go. Yeah, a bit flashy. Then we've got these other items, and I've got a belt here that Her Majesty and any other of the ladies might carry. Whoops, here. It's like a belt with multiple pouches. I guess it's one for your lipstick and one for your first aid and one for your compass and And then you've got things like water bottles. Again, it's a bit flashy, isn't it? Just a little. Just a little. Not quite Matchbox, is it? But it is nicely figured. I mean, look at the on the rucksacks. They look quite nice. He says, got the focus. Struggling a bit. I'm too close. That's the problem. I can't get less than about 750 mils because my camera's minimum distance is that. That's better. Yeah, and you've got like water canisters. From interesting items, and then we've got trenching tools there. So like a dagger digging tool. Yep. So that's quite nice, isn't it? It's a nice addition to the actual vehicle. It brings a bit of, I don't know, it brings a bit of character to it. I think having the young Princess Elizabeth before she became our Queen of England. And I think that even those of you who are not royalists should bear in mind that Queen Elizabeth II is the longest serving monarch in the world ever, as I understand it. That's really quite impressive, so due respect to her. I think whether I make the Ice Cold Dynamics or not, I shall definitely have to make up Princess Elizabeth and make sure she gets a nice paint job and looks very smart. So that when her dad, the king, inspects the ambulance, she's at her best. Right, we've got another one over here. It's also resealable. This has got the stretchers in it. I think it's a multiple of the same sprue. It is, many multiples of the same sprue. Now this is good. This is good. So look at the contour you've got here. You've got the stretcher and you've got the pillows and cushions. But look at the contours. It's got some character to it. It's got some bolster cushion effect. Now I'm afraid the Airfix didn't have that. It was just a flat piece of plastic, which looked a bit silly, I thought. It hadn't really been thought through, basically. This has been made to give a three-dimensional quality to it. That's really, really good. Very nice. Excellent. Are they all identical? Just checking. Are they actually... They're completely identical. Well, they kind of are, but there's actually, maybe it's just the way it's been stamped out. They do come across as ever so slightly different. I think it's just the different severity of the impression. Perhaps there's been a bit more pressure in certain of the moulds when the injection moulding was done. Right, now then, there's a lot of parts here. I think we'll start with those wheels, as I did cover them. Now these are not resealable, I've got to cut them. So I'm going to, what I'll do is I'll cut these off and I will reseal them at a later date. So bear with me. Pray for me, so I'm going in with a knife. Here we go. Okay, so now I think these wheels are, I'm going to make a beeline for the wheels. Those two are exactly the same, an identical sprue. So let's have a look at this. Oh, this is good. Look at this. Now, it's interesting that we've had those ones with the Queen were they're a bit flashy, and I think that wasn't made by the same people. You can usually tell. You get additional characters like, you know, figures and things like that are sort of extras, and sometimes they've actually obtained them somewhere else, and I think that's what's happened, because I can see straight away there is no flash here at all. Have a look, see what you think. So we've got these, this is the side wall, not the tread, but the side wall of the tyre, and then the wheel. And these are these lovely embossed wheel tyres, sorry. The tyres are embossed with the Dunlop logo. Dunlop Sport tracks, I think they're called. Dunlop, and it's got such detail here. Look at that. I can't actually get any closer, I don't think, without it going out of focus. Just at the limit there, I think. Can you make that out? That is very nicely done. And I think the way they've conceived the concept, I think that's quite clever. That's excellent. And then we've got a myriad of parts now. I don't even pretend that I'm going to know what every single part is until you actually get to building it. It becomes clearer then. But look how fine they are. Look at the lack of flash. They've got all sorts of things here. They've got what looks like lights. Is it the lights? I thought they were teacups. It's the lights, isn't it? Yeah, they look like cups at first. Yeah, we've got that. So that's very, very well done. That's a really nice sprue. Okay, then we've got this one, which has got various bits of handrails, part of the side of the, this is the side here just behind the door where the spare wheel bulges out. So that's really impressive. And you've got your wheel hubs, centre of your wheel hubs here. That's cool. Then we've got one that's actually a duplicate, so we're just doing one of them. And this has got the petrol can in it. What looks a lot like an ammo box actually, or supplies tin, perhaps a ration tin. And that's very nicely done as well. Yeah, like it. That is excellent. Very good indeed. And that's sort of Tamiya stroke Great Wall hobby quality there. No problem at all. Next one. This is the one that's got all the bits of the side and the roof and the real meat and potatoes of the actual back of the van. So, here we go. Okay. Yep. Now then. Wow. So we've got the that's the floor, and obviously these two sides here are where the stretchers will ultimately go and have the cushions and then stretchers on it. Here we've got the outer roof and the inner roof. So this is the sort of outer roof, the top roof, complete with the two ventilators that come out, and this is on the inside. It's got like an inner skin. There's the top fascia board, and here of course is the front roof of the cabin. It's really nicely moulded. Again, no flash at all. Then we've got the sides, complete with a sort of a sliding window. Another version, looks like another version of that spare wheel access cover. I've got some interesting, which part is that? I'm trying to think which one that is. It's got like what looks like canvas effect on it. Is that part of the door? Just trying to remember. But the detailing here is really nice. Look at some of this. It's got very fine like brackets and panelling. That's very nice. Tarpaulin, waterproof covers, etc. Great sprue, another great sprue. Okay, and then zing you back, zing you back. Wow, something to get through. It's like one of those, sort of Tacom or border model tanks, isn't it? There's a lot of parts, you know, but they've done that really nicely. Flawless. And there's no ejector pins or short shots or sink marks, nothing like that at all. Now then, another one. I'm enjoying this. There's more than I thought. I think from a value perspective, it's a bit more expensive than the Airfix, but you're getting a hell of a lot more. You get an engine and opening, you know, bonnets and all sorts of things, and so much interior detail with contour and realism. So, here we go. So this is the sprue that's got a lot of the body parts at the front end on. So here's your front coach work with your mudguards, You've got your radiator here. Looks good, radiator cover. And then you've got the internals with the sort of pedal box. Whoops, where are we? Lost it. There. Pedal box, and the instruments is where the steering column goes, and this is your instruments in the middle. Obviously here is your steering wheel. They've done really well. These guys are very good at avoiding ejector pins. Is that one there? Nope, that's not one either. No, they've done really well. And where they've put them underneath, they're all in places that are not ever going to be seen, so it's fine. Here's your hinged bonnet. Now that's really nice. So that enables you to have the bonnet open if you wish, or have it half open. I'd be very tempted to have it half open like it's overheating. And then you've got your side panels here that go, where are we? That go on the side of the engine, either side of the engine. And then you've got your wheel hubs for the wheels, and then lots and lots of components like your front brace here, which gives the rigidity in the engine bay. And then there's all sorts. You've got the handbrake, gear lever. Put the way up might be clearer. Gear lever. I think this is the steering column here. And then you've got your drive shaft here, the universal joints. Look at that. That's detailed, isn't it? Nice. Oh, it's a beauty. This is. It's a lovely kit. This. I wasn't sure whether I was being wise in buying this, because it's not really a subject I normally go for, but I did like the film like most people. But I'm not regretting it, not for a second now. I mean, it's amazing. And I have to stress to you as well that I have not, I promise you, I haven't watched anybody else's review of this kit. One of you actually sent me a comparison of the Airfix versus this, and I started watching it. I got about 4 seconds in. I thought, no, stop, because this will influence you. You don't want to do that. So I literally stopped just after he sort of explained how he was going to do it. This guy, I think he was quite a good guy. I think he knew what he was talking about. But I thought I must stop. As soon as I finish filming this, I'm going to go watch it, because I'm probably going to find it very interesting. But I wanted to just do my own thing, because I do find, especially with something new, you go, oh, I must look out for that. You don't want to be doing that. You want to just discover it for yourself. I mean, people like Phil Flory agree with me on this. He's the same. He doesn't watch other people's. He just looks at it for the first time to try not to be influenced or confused or led. So I haven't looked at any other review of this. It's completely new to me, these images. So look at this. We're getting into the really good stuff now. This is really beautiful. Here's your engine. Oh. So this is your Austin engine, 6-cylinder. There's your radiator. Yeah. Exhaust system here. Obviously we've got the back of the differential here, near the front of it. And then we've got all the suspension leaf springs, which look beautifully rendered and detailed, don't they? Look at that. You can see every individual leaf there. That's fantastic. Wow. And then there's lots of small parts. We've got our, what have we got there? I just saw it. I've got lost already. Here we go. Fan belt and the fan. Turn it this way. There you go. Fan belt and fan. That's nice. Such detail and so crisp. So crisp. It is, it's like Great Wall Hobby or Tamiya. It's really, really beautiful. It's actually exceeded my expectations. I haven't finished yet, but I don't think we're going to get let down at the end. This is an absolute stunner. And then finally, we've got things like the cushions. Whoops, sorry. The cushions. And again, look how they've got realistic looking contour in them. They're not just flat bits of plastic. They have contour to them. They've got character. Yeah? And then you've got the or the rear side. Is that a side piece? Yeah, this sprue is repeated several times. You've also got a beautiful looking Lee Enfield rifle. Look at that. The rendering in this kit is just excellent, I've got to say. Well, that's beautiful. There's two of those, and then there is one of these, which is the it's got all the little panels and all the stowage boxes that we talked about, ammo boxes and medical equipment boxes, ration boxes, and etc, etc. There's the seat. This is actually the seat here, isn't it? That's the seat for the driver, I think. And on this side, that's his seat cushion, which again has this contour to it. A little bit used, a little bit rumpled. Realistic, yeah? Then, this is the back, obviously the back where the door goes. With the vents here, look at the detail on the vents, they're beautiful. So crisp. And you've got the floor there. This is the floor where the gear stick goes in the cabin at the front. And all these little parts in between. There's a shovel, spade, you'll need that in the desert, that's for sure. Has it got the crank handle? Where's the famous crank handle? It's here, I know it is. Is that it? Is it that one? Not sure. I'm sure it's around somewhere. I think that might be it there. Is it that one? I think it might be. The crank handle for cranking it, you know, take the plugs out. What did he say, Harry Andrews? Take the plugs out, we'll crank it up the hill in reverse without any compression. It should be easy. Should be easy. Well, I'm not so sure about that. I saw a video the other day, you may have seen this one, where a chap does all the mathematics and says it was impossible to do that. The crank handle wouldn't be strong enough. It needs 82 kilograms of force on it, he said, which no one person can actually do with their hand. So technically, he said it wasn't actually possible to do it the way that they portrayed in the film. But anyway, I'm not here to criticise the film. It's a classic piece of British culture. And any of you that haven't seen it Ice Cold in Alex, I commend it to you. Well, that is the kit from Gecko. I have to be very honest with you now. I haven't actually had my Airfix's version in my hands, so it's only fair to say that. But I have seen a couple of reviews on it, and I've seen the parts in detail. And it looks a really nice kit, and it's very good value for money. But is it? This is dearer. This has got a lot of parts. So if you want a simple build, and you're not bothered about the Queen, Princess Elizabeth as she was then you might go for the Airfix. I don't really understand why Airfix didn't have the KATY Ice Cold and Alex markings though, which they don't seem to have gone for, which is a bit odd. And they've gone for some other interesting ones, but not very relevant. They didn't have the Queen, so they've missed a couple of opportunities. You know, they didn't have the contour on the seats or the stretchers. They didn't have the writing on the sidewall of the tyres. They didn't have the right tyres. Mistakes have been made, I'm afraid, there, yet again. I think Airfix now, their team, who are very good at creating and making the quality of the parts and the realisation and the instructions, they're so good at so many things now that they weren't before, but they're just getting it wrong. Step one is the where they're going wrong. Everything else they're doing brilliantly. Anyway, I'm not here to critique the Airfix because I haven't seen it, but I know that it doesn't have the things I've talked about. I think the value, this was about £9 more expensive. Excuse me. I need a drink, I've been going that long. I've left my water over there. This is going to be a genuine comment now. I think that is a 10 out of 10 kit. I think that for only £9 dearer, they have ticked every box. The only thing they haven't done is they've got this Princess Elizabeth character, but it would have been nice to have her sitting in the vehicle, or somebody sitting in the vehicle. Another figure or two I think would have been really good, but for the money, you've got all the engine, you've got the gearbox, you've got everything is there, everything. It's 10 out of 10, and I think that's the first Chinese kit that I've given 10 out of 10 to that I can think of. Maybe, or did I also give it to the flanker, the Great Wall Hobby? No, I didn't, because I was annoyed with their terrible instructions, but the kit was nice. These instructions are so beautifully laid out, so big and clear, and it's the size, kind of the opposite of some of the Matchbox, where you're thinking, what? It's very small, you know. They've not put any English, there's not a lot of chit chat, but they have put the history in, so they get a point for that. I stand by it, 10 out of 10. You've got photo etch, you've got a character, you've got some nice graphics, you've even got a hose. It's brilliant, I love it. That will make a really noteworthy dinner party conversation piece. I commend it to you. I think it's almost certainly better than the Airfix, although I haven't examined that, I've seen plenty of it. I think it's the superior kit of the two, by far, actually, from what I've seen. That isn't to say the Airfix kit is not good, I'm not saying that at all. I think that if you want to build something quickly and you don't want to go to that level of detail, it's probably OTT in some cases, so that's fine. The Airfix is a good kit, I'm sure of it. Everybody seems to think so. But that is the ultimate K2, Austin K2, KATY ambulance, K2Y. 10 out of 10, and I think that's a first for a Chinese manufacturer, so that is remarkable. Didn't expect it to be a 10, I didn't. I thought it was going to be better than Airfix. I would probably give an Airfix an 8, 8.5 from what I've seen, and maybe I thought this would be a 9, maybe a 9.5. Didn't expect it to be a 10, and it is. It's a 10. Hope you'll give me 10 out of 10 with a thumbs up, remembering to smash that like button. It does help me. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed to the channel and this is the first time you've seen me, I normally do historic kits, classic kits like the Matchbox, but I do the odd new one if it catches my imagination. I'm so pleased I bought this now. It's exceeded what I was expecting. It genuinely has. Beautiful. I'm now switched on to Gecko as a manufacturer. I'm going to be looking very closely at other things that they're producing, because they've done a beautiful job of that. So please, if you are not subscribing, please do click the subscribe button. If you are a regular one, please click the notify me for any premieres that are coming up, especially if you've seen that there is going to be a premiere. Click on notify me and you'll get early warning about 5 or 10 minutes before it goes live. Until next time, folks, that's it from me for a while. I think I might be having a little break. A couple of days holiday planned, so I might, depending on what order I put this in, I might show you this quite soon after shooting it. I've shot it on the 23rd of August, I'll tell you that now, you can probably see it on my watch. But certainly at the end of August I'll be taking a short break, probably first week of September I'll probably be having that off, so just to forewarn you. But more will be coming, because we have some very interesting things on order that are due. We've got one from Airfix, which I'm hoping and expecting is going to be a really nice aeroplane. We've got another one that we're hoping they're going to release very soon as well. And we have something coming from Zokimura in the not too distant future, which is going to be absolutely brilliant, I think. So there's some real diamonds on the way. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Appreciate all your time. Please comment, tell me your views of the kits in the comments below, what you thought of them. And I hope to see you again in the very near future. Thanks a lot. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.